And is it true that they actually had to sack another young male runner in order to give him the job?
Whether they had to or not, I don't know, but they did. And everybody was really quite upset about it because, you know, everybody loved him and he was a great runner. But I think he was actually a runner. But then one day, I mean, I wasn't there a lot of the time. I used to get all my information from everybody else. One day I got a text message and it was from the young man in question, and he said, I'm the new production secretary at Loose Women. I thought, hang on a minute, what's happened here? I didn't even know that Mitch had gone at the time.
So Mitch was the previous runner, and I remember him. He was a great guy.
He was a great boy, yeah.
And for some reason he goes,
he disappeared.
And in comes this new runner, who it was rumoured was having a relationship with Phillips.
Yes, which I didn't know at the time, but then gradually, as he'd been there for a little bit of time, it was quite obvious. As Eamon said the other night, he was a bit troubled. He was quite troubled. And some of the other Loose Women, I'm pretty sure, kind of sensed that, you know, probably had a little bit of parental power and sensed that he was in a bit of a bad way and kind of, you know, not coached him, but tried to comfort him. And I think that he began to open up to some of them. And this was the first time that I found this out. I didn't know anything about it before that. I've not ever been part of This Morning. I was only ever part of Loose Women, and only from 2018 as well. So, and he turned up in, I think, quite early 2019. And I thought, well, I knew there was something wrong. Everybody knew there was something wrong. And when people around ITV say, oh, we didn't know anything about it, you did. Everybody did. I mean, everybody knew. And you can still say it's a rumour because no one's actually confirmed it. Well, Philip has confirmed it now and is now coming across as though he's protesting too much, like I'm innocent. I'm not innocent, I'm the guilty party. And as Sean just said, actually, and I said this earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if they'd all got together and said, right, you take the hit, Philip, and he's covering everybody else because I'm absolutely convinced they covered all that up and they knew exactly what was going on because the way it was engineered, you knew there was something going on straight away.
Now, Carol, I spoke to numerous Loose Women at the time who told me off the record they were very angry to be put in the position of having to work with Philip Schofield's young lover because they felt that it put them in an unfair position because he was going through a lot at the time. There were a lot of issues, won't go into what the issues were, but there were issues with this guy and they thought it was highly unfair that they were almost having to deal with Philip Schofield's mess. Did you feel that at all?
Well, I didn't because I wasn't there enough, but and also I'm not, you know me, I'm not very sensitive to people. Yeah, I just think, oh, you know, if someone's got a problem, it's not mine, which is a little bit selfish, I know. But there are very sort of empathetic people working on Loose Women, and they did kind of take him under their wing, and it wasn't right that they had to do that because I think it was Eamon who said the other night that he was just literally hoisted upon another show and called it a promotion. So, yeah, his title did change. It was production secretary rather than runner as it was before. But
he was doing exactly the same job.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually a promotion, was it? They engineered a job move.
I think he was doing... Because apparently it was reported that he was Philip's PA as well as the runner. And this is how, you know, they became so close. So he was kind of, you know, booking travel and doing other things.
But then he disappears one day, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, as far as I know, one day there was somebody new in the job, and I'm like, well, like, you know, changing every 5 minutes. And someone just said to me, well, the young man who was Philip's lover went up to Manchester to work for ITV. So I'm thinking, well, there was no real notice of that. There wasn't like, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going to Manchester, or I don't know, maybe I just missed it, but it was kind of strange that then suddenly he disappeared and he'd gone up to Manchester, and I don't think many people heard from him since. And there were some people on Loose Women, some women who were really worried about him, actually.
Yeah, they were.
And he was in a bad way. I saw him out a few times, and you could just tell that he was probably having a bit of a breakdown at the time.
No,
So
absolutely, and there were a lot of the women who were worried about them. Some of them stayed in touch. Some of them tried to help them find work and that sort of thing. But that's where the anger came from, because they thought this was a mess created by Philip Schofield, and it was unfair that it was
they were having to
forced
deal
upon
with
the show.
it.
And the other point is, Carol, and I think this is where the cover-up comes in. There's no way that this guy could have moved from This Morning to Loose Women without the go-ahead from a senior executive, the head of daytime at ITV, because the editors of the individual shows can't just move a staff member. That's not how it works. There has to be approval from higher up, doesn't there?
absolutely there does. And the bosses are like, you know, you wouldn't just take on a member of staff from another production if you didn't want them. You'd be thinking that you would have to get someone because there was nothing wrong with the guy who was doing the job before. So, of course, there had to be some shenanigans going on above everybody else who was working on the show, above the production team, and nobody really knew, and nobody was really saying. It's just like, well, you know, he's been promoted from This Morning, so obviously, my beef is with the management, really.
Yeah.
Because
me too.
Because if Philip is covering for them now, and I'm pretty certain that he's trying to take the fall for them all. The way I see it, they're so arrogant. Most TV bosses are the same. They're really arrogant. They think they're invincible, and they just think, right, let's just carry on, move along, put Holly back on the show. Let's just, get back to normal, and everything will be all right. Yeah. Phillips apologised, and it's all going to be okay. But it's not going to be okay.
No,
it's
and that
not
was
enough.
the extraordinary thing. We all knew it wasn't going to be okay. We all knew this would happen one day. Look, you talk about what Schofield is saying. Why don't we have a little look at what he has told?
Because I haven't seen it yet.
The Sun newspaper, and you can react off the back.
We became mates. And then one day, something happened that just changed it.
There'd be accusations that you groomed him. I'm just going to let you answer the question.
I did not. There is no question I did a bad thing.
Do you buy that, Carol?
Well, there is no question he did a bad thing. He did obviously mess with this young man's life. But I don't know, what the official definition of grooming. It is a bit weird that he knew this guy from a very, very young age when he was at the drama school, and then suddenly he's like, mentoring him, nurturing him, and
the show reel, making the show
reel, exactly, getting him a job, and then suddenly, they're having an affair. So it certainly looks like that, but whether or not whether or not he officially did, it is classic grooming behaviour, isn't it? And, I don't care how many times he says sorry. It's like if he keeps saying sorry, then everything's going to be OK, but as we know, it's not going to be.
Now, Carol, I also want to show you what Eamon Holmes had to say about ITV promoting the runner to Loose Women, and also about Philip Schofield's relationship with all of the Loose Women. Have a look at this, Carol.
I think that should be asked why that unprecedented move was authorised, who authorised it, and why they authorised it. As for the Loose Women, in the year that you're talking about, the panel that existed, I would say there was probably a minority of one who actually liked Philip Schofield. One Loose Woman of 10 or 12 or whatever.
Was he talking about you there, Carol?
No.
Who does he mean?
I've no idea. I don't know anybody who's actually ever said out loud that they really like Philip. Yeah. And actually, the truth is, on Loose Women, we have to do this handover. I'm not there anymore, obviously, but they have to do a handover to This Morning. There's 2 links into the show. And when Philip was doing the show, it was really uncomfortable because you could just tell he was just so dismissive and just so not
We've
interested in
actually
the programme.
got the moment that he did this to Ruth Langsford, and she made a formal complaint. So why don't we just take a look at this, and then you can explain what went on after.
Wow. The same thing that happens almost all over the world. We will find people that will be in this kind of space, people that won't respect, or you think they are so pure and they are practicing or doing something you just can't believe. Now, this Philip brother was just, would I say, sentenced or convinced just a few weeks ago of almost the same issue. And now he as well is having this. He's going to stay in his family, his children, and all. And people are going to think that maybe the thing runs in their family based on his brother that was convinced, I think weeks ago, of similar things, like I said. And what about his children, the next future? What would their partners think? Like, or people around them will start thinking, you know, sometimes people will think of your parents, their past, or whatever shady things they have on their names. They want to relate it with you, not trying to find out if you're different from them or from any those type of saga. And it could actually make people wonder or question how they were raised when they were a lot younger. Maybe it started earlier in them that they don't really know. Now, do I really feel for him? I really don't have any empathy for him. I remember when he was also, would I say, coming on Megan then, and it was a thing of a laugh to them, and they don't really understand what she was going through. And now Carol said none of the loose women actually had a good word to say about Philip. I remember when I used to watch Loose Women, then sometimes the way we just quickly kind of interrupt this thing, I find it too intruding. I noticed when I watched some of his interview, his first apology was just, it was more of apologizing to the young man, not to his wife or his kids. He clearly shows that he's still emotionally attached to him, and I think he's been with him before he was 50. So, what do you think, guys? What are your thoughts? Do you feel for Philip? Do you believe what he's saying? Do you think he's actually saying the truth, or there's more to it? Guys, please let me know in the comment section. Please don't forget to like, share if you can, and I will see you in my next video. You take care. Bye.